win and take a 2-1 lead in this best-of-7 series. Jalen Green and Draymond Green screaming at each other as they head off the floor.
Spicy.
It's spicy. It's the playoffs. It's supposed to be spicy. 104-93, Golden State with a win. Stephen Curry, at the end of the first quarter, had 2 points. He finishes with 36.
What a win. What a win. The Golden State Warriors knock off the Houston Rockets 104-93, and they do it without Jimmy Butler to take a 2-1 series lead over the Houston Rockets in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. Whew. What a performance for the Warriors in this one. Welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game, live from Chase Center. I'm Mark Randy. Evan Giddings here as well. Evan, that was one of the best performances we've seen from this Golden State Warrior team. Maybe the best. They do it without Jimmy Butler. They haven't had a lot of opportunities since Jimmy Butler was acquired to play without him. In fact, this is only the second game that he's missed as a member of the Warriors, and they get a win 104-93. It was gutsy. It was led by Stephen Curry. It was led by Draymond defensively. You got great contributions from GP2 and Buddy Hield. You could go up and down the lineup. It was a roster win in this one, led by the greatness of Stephen Curry. An incredible performance and an awesome win in a moment where the Warriors absolutely had to have it without Jimmy Butler.
Well, that's the thing, is I don't think they necessarily had to have it. I mean, this was a game that, yes, you would love to get, and I think effectively closes the Rockets' chances on winning the series.
Oh,
that's how big I feel this win was for the Warriors. But I did not feel like coming into today this was a must-win game for Golden State, especially after getting the news that Butler was going to be out. And also, all signs point to him being available in Game 4 on Monday. But you're absolutely right that this was a team win. Yeah. And I do think that it's appropriate that against one of the best defenses in the NBA, they closed this game with a 35-point fourth quarter. Curry had 21 in the second half, nearly 10 in the fourth quarter. Gary Payton II, of all people, had 11 points in the fourth quarter.
9 in a row at one point.
He was awesome in this game. And everyone, when they had to be, made plays, and that's kind of been the calling card of Golden State throughout their great runs through the postseason, even if they've fallen short of a championship. And that's why this is a win that is very special, because even for players that didn't necessarily have a good game, everyone had a moment in this game, and it felt like it took everyone, and you really had to, because everyone saw what happened after Game 2, the way that they looked when Jimmy Butler went down. They knew going into this game that was a possibility, and everyone rose to the challenge, none more so than obviously number 30.
Yeah, I mean, he was amazing. 36 points, but it's not just the scoring. He had 7 rebounds. He had 9 assists. He had a couple of turnovers early in the game, but he took care of the ball overall with only those 2 turnovers. He was amazing in this one, and he had to do it while playing 41 minutes, and he didn't really seem gassed or winded. That's just the greatness of Steph Curry on display. I thought what Draymond Green did defensively against Alperen Şengün was nothing short of miraculous on the other end of the floor as well. You mentioned Gary Payton II, who scored 16 points, 11 in the fourth quarter. He had a stretch where he scored 4 consecutive Warriors buckets. You had Buddy Hield, who scored 17 points, made 5 threes. He hit a big 3 when Steph Curry checked out at the tail end of the third quarter to get the Warriors back within 2. I thought Quentin Post didn't have anywhere near his best offensively, but he had 12 big boards, including 3 on offense. Offensive rebounds led to a couple of big Curry and Hield threes. Man, what a performance for the Warriors. They get over 100 points for the first time this series versus the Rockets, 104-93. And while you're right, this was probably a more important game for the Rockets than for the Warriors. I really think, considering that this series is now 1 game on, 1 game off, the Warriors circled this moment of the series as, we better be up 2-1 or else we might be in a little bit of trouble. They're down 2-1. They still might think that they could come back. They probably would still feel confident they could win this series, assuming Jimmy Butler would come back, and it does seem like we have a positive development in that. This comes courtesy of Anthony Slater. Jimmy Butler worked out on the practice court pregame. Medical team held him out to give his body 2 more days to heal, but there's belief he will be back for Game 4 on Monday night with the Warriors searching for a 3-1 series lead. So there still would have been reason to be confident the Warriors could win this series, but you're right. Now you're up 2-1. You have Game 4 at home on Monday. You have an opportunity to not quite put this series to bed, but an opportunity to be on the doorstep, and you hope you get Jimmy Butler back. This was an amazing win, and it's a playoff win, so I think it ultimately probably takes the cake no matter what, but this feels like, considering the circumstances, considering Jimmy Butler being out, this is far and away the win of the year for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, at the most important time, they got their best performance from their best player. If you think about all the great postseason performances that Steph Curry has had,
there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, but this reminds me of one, and it was Game 6 of 2019 before they got to the finals against Houston. Kevin Durant goes down with a calf strain at the tail end of Game 5. Curry has Klay Thompson, who did not shoot it great during that series, as people remember. Now, Curry had to essentially put the team on his back, and that was a much better version of the Golden State Warriors, obviously, in 2019. Draymond was younger, Curry was younger, you had Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala on that squad, but he had an awesome performance that night to close out the Houston Rockets, and ironically, it's the same team tonight. 6 years later, which is crazy to say.
Same franchise, entirely.
Yeah, now he obviously doesn't close them out, but to me, it's going to make it extremely difficult for the Rockets to come back in this series. And what Steph did tonight is nothing short of sensational. At 37 years of age, this is his 23rd all-time 35-plus point game in the postseason.
Amazing.
In a game where he was getting grabbed, in a series where he's getting mauled, he took it to the basket. He did not shoot it all that well from three-point range until he had to. Obviously had a couple of big moments, but he chose to take the punishment tonight. He chose to get into the lane. He was 7 of 10 inside the three-point line. He got to the rim. He finished over bigs. He finished off window. He balled up Jabari Smith Jr. He gave him a bowling ball celebration. He did just about everything that the Warriors needed to from him tonight. And of the 104 to score 36 against that defense in a game that you didn't have your Robin or running mate, whatever you want to call him, that was an all-time performance from Steph tonight.
It was, and they needed every single bit of it. And it was really, really ugly to begin. The Warriors' offense was stuck in the mud. There was a point, Evan, between spanning the first and second quarters when the Warriors played 8 minutes and 40 seconds of basketball with just one made field goal. 8 minutes and 40 seconds of basketball with one made field goal. The Warriors had 22 points with 6 minutes to go in the first half. 22 points at the 6-minute mark of the second quarter. Steph at that point only had 2 points. He was 1 for 5 from the field, and then you could kind of see and sense that he flipped the switch, and he said, all right, you know what, screw this. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to hunt my shots, whether it was getting into the paint or getting some threes up or getting to the free throw line. He was going to take over this basketball game. He then scored 13 points in the final 6 minutes of the second quarter, leading the Warriors on a 24-14 run to turn a 13-point deficit to just a 3-point deficit at the halftime break. They closed on a 9-0 run to close the first half. There was some big Buddy Hield buckets as well. There was a Draymond and one as part of that Warriors run to close the half. But it was ugly. It was really ugly in the first half. The Warriors could not score. And the fact, Evan, that they were stuck at 22 points with 6 minutes to go in the first half and they finished with 104, I mean, it's not like this is any kind of defense. This is a really good Houston defense, and the Warriors absolutely executed to perfection on offense nearly the rest of the way, including the tail end of that second quarter, some of the third quarter, and the entire fourth quarter. The way that the Warriors executed offensively after that struggle to begin, it was something to see. It was an amazing, amazing performance.
But you also can't discount what they did defensively.
Yeah.
They scored 22 points through basically a quarter and a half, and they're only down by 13.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to hold Houston to what they did, and the Rockets, granted, are not a great offensive team, but for the first time in this series, Şengün looked guardable. And I think you have to credit Draymond Green for the work that he did on him, particularly in the first half where he was 2 for 8. He got busy in the third quarter, but then 1 for 5 in the final quarter of this basketball game. Draymond Green was awesome on Şengün. To his credit, he missed some makeable shots, left a couple of bunnies early. He missed a dunk, which then Draymond, of course, one-upped him by missing a wide-open layup in the middle of the lane. And it's just very Draymond Green. But overall, he was awesome tonight. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that a bounce-back Draymond Green performance, especially on the defensive end, had 3 blocks, 2 steals, comes after he sees the DPOY award being given to Evan Mobley.
Hey, but he got the Hustle Award, Evan.
Well, he was hustling tonight. He was hustling for the Dubs. And he was complimentary at the podium. For Anthony Slater, I saw that Draymond just said, it's great for young guys to get that kind of love in this league. And it's crazy to think that Draymond might go down with, the title of perhaps this generation's best defender, or certainly most versatile defender.
But only one
DPOY.
Yeah.
So I didn't think he necessarily was deserving of it because of the entire body of work that Mobley put together this year. But Draymond Green is the kind of guy that I think internalizes that. Felt like he was either slighted or snubbed. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence that for the first time in this series, he made Alperen Şengün look guardable, and it's a big reason the Warriors won this game.
Şengün, 15 points, 7 for 18 from the field, did get on the boards with 11 rebounds. The Warriors were also much more competitive on the glass in this game than they have been at any other point in this series. Warriors do get out-rebounded in this one, 51-45 and 15-10 on the offensive glass. But what was a big one, and this is what I was talking about with Quentin Post, he had 3 offensive boards. 2 of them led to a Curry 3 and a Hield 3. The Warriors had the advantage on second chance points for the second consecutive game, believe it or not. 18-11 was the Warriors' edge on second chance points. That was big time. In a game in which you win by a final score, again, of 104-93, you win by 11. You have an 8-point advantage on second chance points. Not quite the decider in the game, but that was a really, really big part of it. All right, it's Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Evan Giddings, Mark Randy with you. We're here as long as you guys want to keep talking about this game. So let's get the calls. Let's get the text going. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call and text. We've got the YouTube chat up as well. Welcome to all of our YouTubers. Numbers up around 300 people in the YouTube chat.
We're going to shut the bar down.
Keep them going.
We're going to shut the bar down.
Keep it going. YouTube.com/957 The Game. Shout out to everybody chiming in, both on the text line and on the YouTube chat right now. We'll take all your comments, all your questions, your celebrations. This is one hell of a win, and I can't help, Evan, but think about this game and how the Warriors won it with everything going on around them. The Jimmy Butler injury, I felt like most people thought, who knows what the Warriors thought, but most people thought Jimmy was going to play in this game. You get the news a little less than an hour before tip that he isn't going to play, and the Warriors put together that first half performance, really the first 18 minutes of the game. It felt pretty dire. It felt pretty nervous inside of Chase Center, and then Steph turned it on. Everybody else followed. This just felt like a championship DNA kind of win, the gutsy kind of win that you have to have if you're going to go far in the postseason. And I say championship DNA mostly just about Steph Curry and Draymond Green, because everybody else that had big contributions in this game haven't really been big parts of championship teams. Kevon Looney got in and he had a couple of nice moments, some good defense and offensive rebound as well. GP2 obviously was big, and he was a big part of that 2022 championship team. But this just felt like a game where the Warriors leaned on the greatness of their individual stars. They leaned on their experience, and when the Warriors hit the Rockets with that, the Rockets had no answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think also you have to include Gary Payton II as a player with championship DNA. He was massive, and he bailed the Warriors out of a couple possessions. I mean, that corner 3 that he hit in the fourth quarter with the shot clock winding down, it was a tight game at that point, and he put them up. He kept the cushion, and I think overall, the fact that Steve Kerr closed with Gary Payton II as effectively his power forward, it bucks all the assumptions that you can't win if you don't have quality big play, if you don't have a true 7-footer. And yes, the Warriors are an extremely small team, and their vulnerability, as evident by the fact they've lost the rebounding battle in all 3 games of the series, shows you that they have size issues. But They are skilled. They are battle-tested. They are experienced. And I don't think it's a coincidence that also someone like Buddy Hield tonight, who granted hasn't played a ton in the postseason, he's a 10-year NBA vet.
Yep.
And he comes off the bench, and everyone's been making fun of him, and Jimmy's telling him to stop dribbling, and he's calling him out in post-game pressers. And what does Buddy Hield do? He dribbles anyways. And he puts his head down, and he goes to work, and he made 5 massive threes in this basketball game. He scored 17 points, their second leading scorer. They're now 9-3 when he hits 5 or more threes this season, and they needed every single basket. So we were talking about this and have for a long time. I realized that he is the proverbial piñata for a lot of Warriors fans and for, honestly, for the team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everyone just goes after him, including Jimmy Butler. But tonight, they needed him to step up, and it was a big game for him. He played almost 30 minutes in this game.
They closed with him. They closed with him and GP, too.
Exactly. Steve Kerr closed. Like, the fact that Curry won a game without Jimmy Butler, and in the closing lineup, you had Gary Payton II and Buddy Hield. Curry, by the way, played 41 minutes in this game, and he had to.
Yep.
I think in the first quarter, there was a -3 stretch in which Kerr sat him for 4 minutes. That was the longest stretch that he went the entire game on the bench.
And the Warriors didn't score in those 4 minutes while he sat in the first half. Buddy Hield hit a 3.
It was obvious why.
Buddy Hield hit a 3 at the tail end of the third quarter when Steve Kerr rested Steph. Because going through Steve Kerr's mind in a game like this when you're down Jimmy and you just have Steph and a couple of other people scoring, you're just saying, well, okay, how long can I survive with Steph Curry on the bench? How many minutes can I get him rest for? And you're kind of just playing the score. And the way the first half went, I'm sure Steve Kerr goes in the second half thinking, oh my God, I feel like I can't rest Steph for a second. But of course you have to. He's 37 years old. And after 4 minutes that he rested in the first half, and the Warriors did not score over those 4 minutes, Buddy Hield hits a huge 3 at the tail end of the third quarter, takes a 5-point deficit, turns it to a 2-point deficit. Warriors ultimately, after
they held
3
serve.
quarters.
For that 2 minutes that stretch that Steph was out, they held serve, and that's all they needed to do.
Yeah, down 3 when he left. In fact, they were down 2 when he came in. So they actually outscored the Rockets by a single point. It was just 3-2. Not a lot of scoring because he didn't rest all that much. And then he got another small little breather, not right at the beginning of the fourth. He began the fourth on the floor, but like for a minute and a half in the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, he got another rest, and the Warriors they held serve once again. I mean, Buddy Hield deserves a major shout-out in this game. He is the piñata. He is like the guy that everyone in that locker room makes fun of. He hits the clutch 3, and then he's dribbling the ball along the perimeter and gets his pocket picked by Steven Adams, of all people. I mean, that's just the Buddy Hield experience, and that's what it's been like all season. But when the Warriors needed him the most, he came through. I mean, considering the circumstances, this is bar none the best game he's ever played as a Golden State Warrior, but in classic Buddy Hield fashion, it doesn't come without a couple of moments that leaves you scratching your head.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's had 20-point performances. He had 4 in the first 6 games of the season, but you're right. It's arguably the most important performance of his career, considering he has not played in too many postseason games. Up until this point, the best one that he played was a member of the Sixers when they were getting waxed by the Knicks last year. And he had to play. When he was on Philadelphia.
Yep.
Buddy Hield he's been the heel of pretty much every single place that he's been, but tonight he was awesome. And I also think Kerr deserves a lot of credit for this game too. I mean, he closed with 3 guys that weren't in the starting lineup. Quentin Post. Post was in the finishing lineup, but Pods, Kuminga, both not on the floor in crunch time. And Kerr had to go to guys that really, I think, he trusts. I mean, Buddy Hield was a plus 14 in this game. The plus minus doesn't say how good Gary Payton II was, but he also sent Moses Moody, who's been starting for this team, to the bench. He activated Quentin Post, who did not shoot it very well tonight, but was massive on the boards. And I just think that he also, probably the most important thing that he did tonight was manage Steph's minutes. I think pretty much perfectly. And I think the fact that defensively they had a game plan for minimizing what Jalen Green did in game 2 when he was absolutely awesome. I don't know if Kerr coached a perfect game, so to speak, but he's also a big reason why they got this 104-93 win.
Yeah, no, I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit. There's no doubt for the levers that he pulled in this one. Just the decision to close with who he closed with. Moses Moody didn't close. He also didn't start, but you close with Buddy Hield in GP2 alongside Steph, Podziemski, and Draymond. I don't think anybody can be too angry with the way that Steve Kerr coached in this game. And I guess it maybe not having Jimmy Butler kind of simplifies things, believe it or not, because it just means, all right, Steph, you're playing 40-plus minutes. Like, go do what you can do. But he put the guys on the floor, and those guys stepped up in the biggest moments. I mean, you mentioned Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green is like maybe the yo-yo that's going to decide this series one way or another. Jalen Green, terrible in Game 1, Warriors win. Jalen Green, awesome in Game 2, Rockets win. Jalen Green, I don't know if terrible is totally fair today. I mean, he scored 9 points, 4 of 11 from the field, 1 for 5 from downtown, but he didn't really have much of an impact, and the Warriors win this game as well. You were pointing out to me earlier, we haven't mentioned this guy's name yet, but Jonathan Kuminga starting in place of Jimmy Butler in this one. Didn't play a ton, less than 17 minutes, but he did really good defensively, at least to open the second half on Jalen Green. I was talking pregame about how that was probably going to be the Moses Moody job, defend Jalen Green, and it was at times when Moody was on the floor, but when Kuminga was on the floor alongside Jalen Green, he did a pretty good job on him, and that's a big reason why the Warriors won this game as well. Not just Kuminga, but the Warriors' defense in general on Jalen Green.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Green also just didn't have it going. He was hitting, step back threes in Game 2. He checked shots. He was awesome. But that's what I mean by everyone had a moment or everyone chipped in towards the win. You look at this box score, you say, yeah, Kuminga was a -4. Moody was a -5. Like, those guys didn't help tonight. They were bad. I don't believe that. Like, out of the second half, Jalen Green, I think, took 4 shots in the first half. And it was because they threw different guys at him. They did a pretty good job. I also thought he was pretty passive overall in this game. And he had a few nice passes. And really, he hurt the Warriors also as a passer in Game 2. But you come out of the half, and Kuminga steps up and forces him to take 3 tough shots. And I actually think that's when Kuminga, you saw where he can help this basketball team when he's engaged as an on-ball defender. And I seriously believe that Jalen Green was the target because, look, they got history. They've been teammates together. They're obviously from the same draft class. Kuminga saw Green get paid this summer. He's someone that he's competed against. And he's also played well head-to-head against. And he saw him, and I thought defensively, he didn't allow Green to get going. And although Kuminga on the floor overall was not great in this game, he only played 17 minutes, and I think that was probably appropriate. And we can discuss his role moving forward. It doesn't really matter, because to me, in the few minutes to begin the second half, Jalen Green had to kickstart something for Houston. They had nothing going offensively. Nobody really shot it well outside of Dylan Brooks, who was in foul trouble this entire game. And Kuminga at least made his life difficult enough and then passed them off to Moses Moody. So again, those two players are minuses in terms of plus-minus, but still contributed to this win. That's what I mean by everybody had a moment or did something to chip in.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Dylan Brooks foul trouble. That was also key in this game. He picked up 2 really early. He picked up his 3rd early in the second quarter, picked up his 4th still in the first half, and his minutes were really limited as a result. He only played 27 minutes and 44 seconds. He made 4 of his 8 shots, made 3 of his 4 shots from downtown. I mean, there's a reality, Evan, where he doesn't get into foul trouble. One foul was drawn by Kevon Looney. Another was drawn by Buddy Hield. There was another one by Draymond Green. If the Warriors don't get Dylan Brooks in foul trouble, there is a reality where he plays closer to 40 minutes. Maybe he scores closer to 25 points instead of 13. And Houston might have maybe not won the game, but it might have been a game with like a minute left. This game was over essentially with like 2 minutes to go, it felt like, inside of Chase Center. And that was a really, really big part of this one. There was also a moment, I thought this is one of the funnier moments of the game inside of Chase Center. It was late in the first half, in the middle of that Warriors run, when Steph Curry started getting his shot going after he only scored 2 points in the first 18 minutes of this game, the first quarter and a half, where he's trying to break free from, I believe it was Fred VanVleet under the basket. Fred VanVleet is grabbing him, holding him, like the Warriors have been pointing to all series long, and the officials call a foul away from the ball on a Steph cut, and Chase Center nearly gives the officials a standing ovation for finally calling that foul. But that, along with the Dillon Brooks foul trouble, the officiating in this game, ultimately it was a positive for the Warriors because it took one of Houston's best players in this game, maybe their best player in this game, considering how few minutes he played, Dillon Brooks, off the floor for long stretches, and the Warriors took advantage. I mean, it was... when Dillon Brooks played, it was even. His plus-minus was 0. When Dillon Brooks was on the bench, that means the Warriors outscored the Rockets by 11 points.
Yeah, I mean, he also played like an idiot. I mean, he picked up like 3 just absolutely mind-boggling fouls, including one that I think was actually originally ruled out of bounds off of the Warriors. They challenged it, and then he grabbed Buddy Hield on the baseline, and that's why they went back and gave him a personal foul. So, yeah, Dillon Brooks, but that's the kind of player that he is. And honestly, he's kind of representative tonight of how Houston, I thought, played as a whole. Like, they had 5 different guys in double digits, but their best players weren't available to them because they either didn't play smart enough or were in foul trouble. They missed 10 free throws in this game. Like, that's also a big reason why the Warriors were in the game at half. You look at I think they missed 8 in the first half alone. They were 9 for 17 at halftime. And that's a big reason why the Warriors were able to remain in this game. I mean, there was a point where Steve Kerr was playing hack a Steven Adams. Like, he was taking full advantage of all of the deficiencies of this Houston roster. And even without Jimmy Butler, arguably their highest IQ player, the Warriors still, and granted they had some mishaps. I think probably for every great play they had, I don't know, a fumble or Buddy getting ripped by Steven Adams, but they played a smarter game overall than Houston did. And Houston actually almost shot it better than them from 3-point range. But the fact that in this game, the Warriors, I think, they were even, or pardon me, they turned the ball over 4 less times than them. They got almost as many points from the free throw line as Houston, despite taking almost 10 less attempts. Like, they were the smarter team tonight, and they kind of just wore Houston down because the only way the Rockets were going to win this game is if they had a double-digit lead at half. And even then, they might have got caught the way they played in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so Warriors win this one 104-93 over the Rockets. They take a 2-1 series lead. They do so today without Jimmy Butler. According to reports, it does feel like there is some confidence Jimmy Butler will be ready for Game 4 on Monday, which is at 7 o'clock. And, of course, you can hear it right here on 95.7 The Game. Okay, let's go out to the phone lines. We're here for your calls, your texts, your comments on YouTube all night long. You can join the conversation by calling or texting 888-957-9570. Up first is Shaka. Shaka is in Berkeley. Shaka, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. It's Evan Giddings and Mark Randy with you. How you doing, Shaka?
What's up, Mark and Evan? How y'all doing, man? That was a great victory, man. That was the best victory of the year, man. That was a great bounce back game, man. We were down by 13 or 14 points in the first half, man. We were lucky to be in the game, man. Their poor foul shooting led to them we were able to hang around till Steph got hot. Post played a great game. He had a lot of energy. He had 11 rebounds. I want to give him his props. I want to give him his flowers, man. Also, I like the JK, man. He had Green. He had the best player had 38 points. The game before that was unstoppable. JK locked him down, man, and he's not getting the credit of that. You got to really know the game of basketball to break it down, man. He really did a job on him. Kind of frustrated him. The size was a problem with him. They used to have little players on him, and I thought he did a great job also, man. And I think, man, just that loss we had earlier, the loss we had against the Clippers, that we thought was a curse, might turn out to be a blessing, man, because now we got matched up with Houston, a young team. Now we're up 2-1. I like the matchup, man. We get past them, we have to beat either Minnesota or Lakers, but all the great teams are going to knock each other off because you got the Clippers playing Denver, and then they're waiting on Oklahoma City. So we're going to have to just play one of those teams if we can get past this round, and then we get Minnesota or the Lakers. But we're going to winning this game without Jimmy Butler gives them so much confidence going forward, man. Just being able to win this game, after a bad loss like you just had, man. So I want to give Steve Kerr's credit, man. I want to give Steve Kerr's credit, man. We always own Steve Kerr about JK, but I want to give him credit. A great game, man. When Adams, he started fouling him, that took the whole. He made the 2 free throws, but it kind of made the game twist. In the second half, they were crazy. So I just wanted to say that, man, it was a great team effort, man. Go Warriors, man.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Shaka. And he fouled him intentionally a couple of times, Steven Adams. Steven Adams missed a couple of them, and then actually Houston got the offensive rebound after he missed the second one that one time. Then he fouled him again, and he made 2 after that. I love your shout-out for GP2 and for Quentin Post. Shaka, Jonathan Kuminga defensively, I agree. We gave him some love for the way that he defended on Jalen Green as well. And yeah, Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit as well. I mean, we said it off the top, Evan. This is just simply a team victory for the Warriors. And it was never going to be all right, Jimmy Butler's out. Kuminga, you're going to have to score 25 now. Moody, you're going to have to score 25 now. It was not going to be a single person that was going to come in and replace what Jimmy Butler does. It was going to be a little bit here, a little bit there, some other here, and a little bit more elsewhere. And you get all of that together, and you find a way to win a basketball game. It really was a team effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the formula that helped the Warriors beat the Rockets before they got Jimmy Butler. Now, Curry didn't play in all of those games, but it was a singular player taking over. In the regular season, at times it was even Jonathan Kuminga. But the point is, there was a singular player that took over, and there wasn't really a secondary scorer. Everybody else chipped in. And that's why, as much as I understand how impactful Jimmy Butler was, I was not writing off this possibility of a win for the Warriors, because I didn't think that Houston was going to be a team that could score basically 110 points back-to-back nights. If they did, they would have won this game. If they had anybody that had some consistent offensive game, they probably would have won. But the Warriors basically just dared them. And to their credit, the Rockets hit some shots, but Şengün couldn't have 3 good games in a row.
Yep.
Jalen Green couldn't have back-to-back good games. Dillon Brooks is probably their most efficient offensive player. Fred VanVleet scored the first 9, and then the water got turned off for him. Like, the Warriors basically believe that with Curry doing what he does, which was 36 points in 41 minutes, along with the 9 assists, only 2 turnovers, by the way.
Yes.
Much better with the basketball in this game than he was in Game 2.
And only 10 as a team.
Yeah, I mean, look, 10 turnovers and 26 assists against a Houston Rockets team that is as physical as they are. That's a great ratio to have. But I think they just felt like if they got 1 or 2 guys that could score, they were going to win this basketball game. And again, I think the fact that Curry had 36 also points to the coaching staff, because they figured out ways to get him open. Curry obviously took it upon himself, and again, I think it was when he started to drive to the lane, started to get into the paint. But clearly they saw something that between Game 2 and Game 3, they were able to unlock with Curry, and he was just sensational. So
yeah. It did take a bit to get him going. 2 points, 1 of 5 field goals the first quarter and a half. But then once he got going, there was nobody on that Houston team that could slow him down.
It kind of reminded me of Game 1, though. He missed his first 3 shots, didn't really have it going, and then he saw a couple fall, and everything else opened up.
Yeah, and you said it in the moment. Get to the paint. And then that opened up everything else, and it was kind of a similar story in this game today. Okay, time for a break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We got full lines. I see all you, Rich, Roque, Jan, John, Zach. We're coming to you when we come back. We're here for your calls all night long. It's Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. The Dubs beat the Rockets 104-93. They do so without Jimmy Butler. They take a 2-1 series lead, and now they're getting set for Game 4 back at Chase Center on Monday at 7 o'clock. It's Evan Giddings, Mark Randy with you. More Warriors Wrap-Up next on 95.7 The Game.
He's got a 9-point quarter, a 14-point game. The Rockets call time. The Warriors have a 6-point lead with 3:42 to go. Golden State 92 and Houston 86.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Warriors Wrap Up. Mark, Randy, Evan Giddings with you. Dubs knock off the Rockets 104-93. They take a 2-1 series lead over the Rockets. Game 4 coming up on Monday here from Chase Center at 7 o'clock. Where were you when GP2 took over a playoff game? There was a moment where he had 4 consecutive buckets, 2 of them coming off of Curry traps. He slipped on a little pick and roll. Curry got it to him. He had a couple of nice finishes around the rim. Then he hit a corner 3, and then he had another one on a back cut dunk. A nice pass from Pajemski. 4 straight field goals for the Warriors, 9 straight points. Over the course of like a minute and 45 seconds, he scored 9 points. Are we going to remember this game as the GP2 game, Evan?
Probably not. Probably not. But he was big in this game. There was a lot of, there's always a lot of moments that happen in these kinds of wins. And look, first and foremost, the story is Steph Curry. He was awesome tonight, 36, 9, and 7. But there was also a stretch where in 80 seconds, I think Draymond Green picked up 3 fouls.
Yeah.
There was a stretch for a couple of minutes where Fred VanVleet missed like 4 straight threes. And shout out to our YouTube chat with a pretty funny nickname, powered by Personal Account Credit Union, Fred Van Stink. That's what he's been for the majority of this series. There was also a moment that you enlightened me to and that I missed in real time but had to go back and see because it was hilarious when GP2 absolutely stonewalled Dylan Brooks at midcourt.
Oh, laid him out.
And just didn't care about it.
He saw Dylan Brooks was just planted at half court. GP2 staring right at him, runs right through his chest.
He's been waiting to do that for 3 years, if we're being honest. And the fact that he didn't hurt him even more is probably because he laid up off him. But his dad was also, Gary Payton Sr. was in the building tonight, was asked about his son's performance, said he had to step up, and he did. And he was obviously a proud papa looking on him. There was a lot of great moments in this game, but let's get to the callers.
Let's do it.
Let's hear from the people.
Let's do it. Rich is in Fremont, and he's up next. Rich, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. Hell of a win. What do you think, Rich?
What's up, fellas? Hey, man, nice job taking the helm this evening. Hey, at the end of the day, it was collaborative win, and the guys came through. And, it's funny. I called it on Thursday, and I said that in order for the Warriors to be able to make an impact in this series, other guys got to step up when Butler's out. And, hey, guess what? Other guys stepped up, and particularly I focused on Buddy Hield because he hasn't had those impactful type of games. His games have not been pretty good. He hasn't delivered on the shots, and we think about why they signed Buddy Hield. They didn't sign him to get steals. They didn't sign him to get rebounds. They didn't sign him to do the extracurricular thing. They signed him to shoot the 3. And it's like the last 3 to 4 games he hasn't been doing that. So it's like, okay, what are we paying you for? And it's like, guess what? Tonight, Buddy Hield, he earned his money. 17 points. I got to give it to him. Nice job, buddy. Hey, love it when he does that because that's what he can do. And then, again, you got to tip your hat to GP2 tonight, like you guys been talking about. Hey, GP2 came in, gave you GPT2 time, and you love that. And, hey, at the end of the day, Steph doing what Steph does. And like I said, somebody should go tell the man, Steph, you're 37, bro. You're 37 and you're playing like you're 25. I mean, it's brilliant to watch, but still, man, it's amazing. We're all just in the audience loving this. We're loving what we're seeing. Great win tonight. Hey, go Dubs. Go get these guys. Go get it done. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, yes, sir, Rich. Appreciate the call as always. Steph Curry, 37 years old. He played 41 minutes. He had 36 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, only turned the ball over twice. And if memory serves, he had those turnovers early in this game. He had 2 turnovers in the first half. And 1 in the first quarter, 1 in the second quarter. So he played a near-perfect second half, Steph Curry did. He was amazing. And what else he did with those 36 points? He passed Tony Parker for 10th on the NBA all-time career playoff points list. Steph Curry now in his career, 4,053 career playoff points. 10th most in the history of the NBA. 37 years old, Evan, 36 points. He played 41 minutes, and he got better as the game went along.
First of all, he could do no wrong tonight. You want to know why?
Why?
Remember Dylan Brooks' third foul? That was the challenge one on the sideline.
Buddy Hield in the corner.
Yeah. You know why he had to foul Buddy Hield? Because Curry threw that ball out of bounds.
That would have been his third turnover.
That would have been his third turnover at the time. Like, Curry could literally do no wrong tonight. Even when he was making bad plays, his teammates or the basketball god smiled favorably upon him. No, you're absolutely right. And also, this was a stat I saw from Nate Duncan, that of those top 10 scorers in playoff postseason history, he has the highest true shooting percentage, which obviously in 2025, it's been a more offensively geared league, and Curry's a big reason for that. And the three-pointers count for more and all the rest. But it goes to show that he is not just one of the most efficient shooters in the regular season, he is one of the most lethal scorers in the postseason. And he is why, again, when they acquired Jimmy Butler, I'll say it again, I've been talking about this for a long time. They have two guys that can win you a game. And you saw it tonight. Without one of them, you could put the game on Curry's shoulders and he could still win it for you. You got to get 4 out of 7. And it's why I think that the Warriors, by getting this game, put themselves in an excellent position to effectively close out the series in, maybe 5, but probably 6 games. Yeah. They're in control of this series now. Without Jimmy Butler, Curry had to step up. And I talked about the 2016 or 2019 Game 6 game. That's what it felt like to me. And it's crazy to think that he can still do this at age 37. And he is the reason why you cannot count out the Golden State Warriors, no matter if they're scoring 18 points in the first quarter. By the way, for a third consecutive game, they have not figured out Houston offensively to start this game. Or maybe they're getting it going and they're scoring 35 in the fourth. Curry is someone that you never know when or how, but he's going to show up when you need him the most.
Yeah, he was amazing in this game. And what the Warriors did with this one was they guaranteed themselves, at worst, if needed, a Game 6 home game. They guarantee themselves, even if they don't win another game before then, they have Game 6 at home. That's what this win here today does for the Warriors. Okay, let's go back out to the phone lines. 888-957-9570 is the number to call and to text. Up next is Roque in Alameda. Roque, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. It's Evan and Grandy with you. How you doing, Roque?
What's up, man? Yeah. Yes, thank you for taking my call here. Man, this game was kind of scary first, second quarter, and some third quarter. But somehow the guys stepped up here. GP2, Moody, and Buddy Hield somehow, the first quarter, Buddy Hield, I said, oh, my God, you're wide open 2-3 times. My God, please make that shot. Okay, but he came through at the late games there. We pulled it out. But I'm going to tell you, this game's actually, I'm going to give it to GP2 and Draymond Green. Draymond Green, he is the horse there. And when he ran to the referee and he got technical, I think Houston got intimidated there, so is the referee. And suddenly we got the call. Steph Curry, the way they grabbed him and hugged him and all the bear hug, he was getting that call. Suddenly, I said, whoa, what are you talking about? Suddenly we get this call. I said, wow, okay. Now, and the other thing too, Brooks. Thank God that guy was out. He made a big difference, okay? If he was there, it would have been a close game still. And it's something, maybe, oh my God, I don't want to say lost. But I'm going to go to Post now. I know he got some long rebound. He got, 10 or 11, 12 rebound, only got
12.
2 points.
Yep.
12, okay. And, 4 assists, 1 block. That's a big help. Like I said, all the way around other bench or other players, they helped out. Steph Curry, you can't count him out. Even though he dribbled into a double team there, he got to give it up sometimes, But he did his real thing, regular 36 points, 30+. That's Warriors. That's how we win. Draymond Green, oh my God, and GP2. Those are the two main person I look at today. Buddy Hield, he did his thing in third, fourth quarter, but it's all collective, all team. But then again, don't forget Steve Kerr. He pushed the right button. He put everybody in there. Not everybody, different time, different in there. And it was the right timing. Okay? Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, appreciate it, Roque. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it briefly off the top, Evan, what Draymond Green did defensively on Şengün. Şengün was 7 for 18 from the field, but I think Roque is spot on here. We spend so much time amazed with what Steph Curry does offensively. It's a little more difficult to recognize it, and not saying that Draymond is at the level defensively that Steph is offensively, but what he is doing defensively at age 35 is still astounding, and he was great on that side of the floor today.
Yeah, especially after I thought he was awful in game 2.
Terrible.
He had a horrible game, and again, it's like one of them was not available to you tonight, but you kind of have 3 closers, and Curry is someone that does it primarily on the offensive end. Although I thought he held his own tonight. He was on Jalen Green at times. Obviously had to guard Fred VanVleet, who had it going in the first half, and at times was matched up on Jalen Brooks. He's strong enough to hold his ground. And then defensively, Draymond Green is your closer on that end. He had a couple of massive plays. He had the strip late, I think it was on Şengün underneath when he's screaming at the crowd.
Yep.
And, kind of standing over him at the end, a patented Draymond play. And then Jimmy Butler wasn't available tonight, obviously, but he's someone that can help you close on either end. We've seen him make big plays on defense. Obviously, he closed out the Rockets with 6 points down the stretch in game 1. So the fact that they have 3 players that at times, and look, Curry's not going to be great all the time, but you never know. And he scored 21 points in the second half, and to your point, he had 2 after the first quarter. So, and then Draymond Green, Şengün was good in the third quarter. A lot of it was on Kevon Looney or Quentin Post, but Draymond made his life very difficult for the most part. And it's why it's like you cannot count this team out, because they figured out a way to get the upper hand back in a series that very easily could have, I don't want to say gotten away from them, but they didn't have to get greedy tonight. And I know a lot of people felt like, with the way things are trending, you want to get this game, it's a must-have it. I thought that this was a greedy performance by the Warriors tonight, where that's what championship teams do. You have an opportunity to effectively, I don't want to say close a series, but give yourself the upper hand to not have to go 7, which is right now the most important thing for the Warriors. I think if they're going to make a deep run in the postseason, they have to finish teams when they have the upper hand. And that's been a calling card of all of their title runs. When they start to figure a team out, they beat them in 5, they beat them in 6. So don't let this series linger. And that's why it was so important for them to try and get this game tonight. They set themselves down that path, and it was huge.
Yeah, they got it done without Jimmy Butler today, and there does seem to be belief within the Warriors that he could be able to play on Monday for game number 4, and that game tips off at 7. Of course, we'll have coverage all day on Monday, including Warriors Live, beginning at 6 on Monday here on 95.7 The Game. Back out to the phones we go as the Dubs knock off the Rockets 104-93. 888-957-9570. Jan is in Mountain View. Jan, good evening. How you doing? It's Evan and Grandy with you here on Warriors Wrap Up. What's up, Jan?
I'm doing great. That was a great team win all the way around, and I'm very proud of how the team came out and showed the grit. Well, a lot of it has to go to Stephen Curry, and I'm so glad he's on our team. And as much, I've been watching the other teams around the association during this week, and I haven't seen anyone get grabbed and tugged and pushed around as much as Stephen Curry. And for crying out loud, just before he even gets the ball, they start, putting their hands on him. And I'm like, get your hands off of me, I'm thinking to myself. And I see, and how he controls himself, and he's able to, have that poise and that, that focus and whatever. I don't know how he does it, and we need to enjoy this guy as long as he's on this team. And and the other people that stepped up, like GP2 and Clinton Post for getting rebounds, and even a short while what's his name? Gee whiz.
Kuminga?
The guy that's been out. Kuminga, thank you. I just, he even put a few in the basket and was up against Jalen Green. So, it was a great team win all the way around, and all I can say is go Warriors, and let's take this in 5. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it, Jan. Love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm in awe watching Steph Curry as well. I mean, Steph is just absolutely amazing. Evan said it off the jump. He has countless amazing postseason performances. I mean, he had 36, 7, and 9. Like, you'd have to go through, and this probably isn't even like top 5, top 10, like most amazing Steph Curry postseason performances. That's not a knock on what he did tonight. It's more so just a compliment to the player that he is and the postseason resume that he's put together. But, I mean, he just takes your breath away on the basketball court. I mean, what that dude does, and you know, we can have an argument if we want about the refereeing and the way Steph is officiated and all the grabbing and all that stuff that goes off ball. You think it's unfair. You think that's how it is in the postseason. Whatever you think, there is no doubt, though, Evan, whether you think he should be called for more or he should get more of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to officiating or not, there is no doubt that what he is having to do as a 6'2" guard at age 37, going up against younger, more athletic, bigger, longer dudes that are grabbing him, whether it's illegal or not, whatever, like what he is having to do every single night is downright near impossible, and he comes out and puts up 36, 7, and 9 on their heads tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he also didn't have a great game, too. You know, I thought he scored 20 points, but he had 6 turnovers and...
Volume shooter, too.
Yeah, exactly. So he needed a bounce-back performance as well. They don't win this game without Curry going off. And I think that was something that had to be factored into the equation. It's like, and I know Kuminga was starting tonight instead of Butler. I also think that Kerr should get some credit for trusting Quentin Post as much as he did across nearly 30 minutes, considering Quentin Post is a rookie. And he put him in the starting lineup to try and create a little bit more space in Post, though he didn't make shots tonight, to Jan's point, also was good on the glass. But Steph is... Look, it's his 23rd game in which he scored 35 or more points in the postseason. So it's not something that is like, oh, this is a top 5 performance, but it was vintage Curry.
Yep.
And they needed that. It's a first-round series. It's not an elimination game. You know, this isn't Game 7 against Sacramento. It's not even a play-in elimination game necessarily, which he was also great against Memphis. But it's a game in these kinds of series, and he's done this countless times, where it's a game that if you're going to put your team in a position to win, you got to have it. And I think that while, you know, Steph doesn't always have maybe the biggest shots in the fourth quarter, like down the stretch, like the buzzer beaters, or I don't know, name it, like he always shows up in games where you need him to.
Yeah.
More often than not, certainly. And I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight he's probably looking around. He finds out before the game Butler's not there, and he goes, "That's fine. Get on my back." And Houston, I also thought, guarded him exactly the same they've guarded him the first 2 games. And I would say this, so as far as for people who are not happy about the grabbing, the tugging, I'll tell you who doesn't care, 30. I'll tell you who actually, I believe, is better when he is roughed up or tried to be roughed up, because he's entered that Michael Jordan stage of his career where not everything can get him going. But if you poke the bear, like Curry, I know because he's smaller and he's a little skinnier, he doesn't come off as this demonstrative aggressive cat. But I swear to God, whenever another team tries to push him around, tries to muscle him, it's happened his entire career. He always responds. And that's why I think, number one, he had the kind of performance he did in Game 1, because remember, it was off of that poor performance in the regular season against them.
1 for 10 from the field.
Exactly. The 3-point game responds in Game 1. Didn't play well in Game 2. People are talking. Can't get it done without Jimmy. Curry's a guy that, by himself doesn't have enough help. Can't do it by himself. He hears all that noise, and he came out and dropped 36 on a Rockets team that is now on the brink of potentially having their season ended.
Yeah, 36, 7, and 9. Steph does it again. He is just one of the greats, and that's what the truly great ones do, and we had the pleasure of watching Steph do it time and time again. 888-957-9570. Let's keep it rolling on the phone lines. John just left Chase Center himself, and he wants to weigh in on Steph Curry. John, what's up? You got the floor here on Warriors Wrap-Up. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's it going, Dub Nation? My wife and I, we just left Chase Center, and oh man, it was wild. I'm telling you that this game, it started off with a slow start. We were looking at each other, We were questioning. We were like, how's this game going to turn out? I tell you, that third quarter started, and I started screaming. I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I started screaming like, Steph, this is your game. Steph, you got this. And there was a moment in time where Steph turned around. He took his fist, he like tapped his chest, he looked at us, and I was like, oh my God, let's go. The next 3 plays, I swear nobody touched the ball but Steph. Steph hits a 3. He started crossing people up. The stadium just started going wild. We were screaming Warriors, and the whole stadium was doing it, you know. And at that point in time, we were feeling pretty good. And I mean, you got to give the game to, you know, Steph. You got to give nods to Buddy Hield. You got to give nods to Gary Payton. But at the end of the day, why did we win this game? It's Steph and Curry. Mm-hmm. You know, Steph goes to the line. We're all MVP. I mean, you know,
no doubt.
This is hats off to Steph and Curry.
Yeah, you're right, John. I mean, Steph was just absolutely amazing, and appreciate the call, John. And I mean, I think a lot of Warrior fans felt the same way as you did. This was the moment that John was talking about. Warriors down 13 with a 6.5 to go in the first half. At this point, Steph had played 13 minutes, a little more than 13 minutes of game time. He has 2 points on 1 of 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from downtown. I mean, I wrote this down in my notes at the moment. Steph's being a little bit too passive. He's passing too much. And the pass is kind of a little bit sketchy. 2 turnovers. And you mentioned the third that could have been a turnover. It was ultimately reviewed and called a foul on Dillon Brooks, saving Steph from a turnover. You're thinking to yourself, and I think this is exactly what John was feeling, Steph, this is on you, buddy. You got to get more aggressive. You got to will this team to a victory. They call a pick and roll with Quentin Post. He gets around his defender, gets all the way to the rim for a layup with 6 minutes to go. Then he gets a right wing 3 off of one of those post offensive rebounds we were talking about earlier, and then he hits, I believe it was Jabari Smith. Yeah, it was Jabari Smith Jr. with a sick cross and step back, midi off the glass, 3 quick buckets, and suddenly he's rolling. He scores 13 in the final 6 minutes of the second quarter. He leads the Warriors to that 24-14 run, that 9-0 run to close the second quarter to get the Warriors within 3 at halftime. And then once he got going, Houston had no response. You pair that with what the Warriors did defensively on the other end, and it took a while to close this game considering how bad they were early offensively. But once Steph got going, there was no one that could stop him.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the caller, I think, was trying to put into words, too, how much the crowd also did aid the Warriors tonight. And look, it's their first postseason game since 2023 at Chase Center, a playoff game. I thought the crowd was awesome tonight. It's never going to be Oracle. I think that's an unfair standard to try and hold these fans to. But the fans were great tonight. Although I will say, the loudest I thought they were tonight was not for a play by the Warriors. It was when Dillon Brooks fouled out. I think that was the loudest that Chase Center got when Dillon Brooks picked up his 6th foul. And you know who was up waving goodbye to him?
Who?
Front and center. Joe Lacob. I swear to God, right at center court, because the play happened right in front of him. He stands up and just starts waving, goodbye, 6th foul, and everybody got behind him. And it was a sight that I don't think a lot of fans, especially of the Golden State Warriors, you know, they were enjoying all of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hatred between these two teams. There's no doubt. And Dillon Brooks is in the center of it, mostly because of what he did as a member of the Grizzlies. But these two teams, and a bunch of dudes on these teams, they do not like each other. There's no doubt. Okay, time for a break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Evan Giddings, Mark Randy with you. The Dubs knock off the Rockets 104-93. They take a 2-1 series lead, and they do it tonight without Jimmy Butler. There does seem to be some confidence from the Warriors that Jimmy will be able to play on Monday, but we shall see. Monday, 7 o'clock is the tip time as the Warriors try to take a 3-1 series lead. Okay, when we come back, we got Junior in Pacifica. We got Filmo Mike on hold. We're coming to you guys, plus we will hear from Steve Kerr postgame as well as Warriors Wrap-Up continues. It's Mark Randy, Evan Giddings with you. More next on 95.7 The Game.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest.
And the free throw jumper, it's up and good. Smith didn't know which way Curry was going to go. 27 for Curry. Warriors up 1.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, that was one of Steph's many buckets. That was the one he hit on Jabari Smith, put him in the spin cycle, hit him with the 6-step back, and got the jumper to go in the mid-range. He finishes with 36 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. He was awesome in this game and wills the Warriors to a 104-93 win. They take a 2-1 series lead over the Rockets, and they did it tonight without Jimmy Butler, who was out with a pelvic contusion. It was announced about an hour prior to tip that he would not play. He got some pregame work in, a warm-up, and some work from the training staff, but he was not quite ready to go. It went so far, Evan, as Shams Charania reporting on ESPN before the game, that Jimmy Butler's essentially had no mobility at all. We saw him moving around on the bench just a little bit. It didn't seem like he had no mobility at all, but that phrase that Shams Charania used, a little bit scary. We did get a little bit of a positive report post-game from Anthony Slater, our Warriors insider here on 95.7 The Game, that the Warriors feel at least there's some confidence that he should be able to go for game number 4. And if he does, you feel good about the Warriors' chances to take a 3-1 series lead. But Warriors getting a win in this one without Jimmy Butler, that's just a gut punch for the Houston Rockets.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a game that you kind of have to get if you're Houston, if you want to win the series and or at least not have it go 7. You know, I think that Houston obviously still has a path to win a game, potentially 2, but not if they play the way that they did tonight. I thought they were kind of discombobulated. The Warriors, I think, were, and this is where their experience showed. You know, it's sort of a series of firsts for Houston, right? Game 1 is literally their first postseason game, you know, kind of as a collective. Obviously, Brooks and VanVleet have been there before, but for Green and Şengün, they go in many ways as they go. So this is their first road postseason test. And again, you can say the crowd wasn't the loudest it's ever been, blah, blah, blah. The crowd, you could tell that they felt the energy of the arena. And I thought that they turtled up a couple times. Şengün left a lot of makeable shots short. Jalen Green was trying to, I think, kind of recreate what he found in Game 2, which was the hot hand, and just kept that rolling. But the Warriors were in his face the whole time. You saw Green lose his composure against Draymond Green at the very end of this game with them jawing at each other and Draymond Green allegedly telling him to go paint his fingernails. You know, and Jalen Green at the podium is chirping about Draymond afterwards. He said, just talking. Draymond can't really do much of anything else, so he just talks. That's the only way he can do anything. Like, that tells me that Draymond is in his head. They're in the heads of the Rockets, and they're going to have to quickly erase that because they only had 48 hours before Game 4.
Yeah, I thought Jalen Green was gutless in this game. 4 for 11 from the field, 1 for 5 from downtown, scored 9 points, had 6 rebounds, 5 assists. But, I mean, Jalen Green, get to the rim. Get to the rim, dude. It would drive me absolutely crazy watching Jalen Green play basketball if I was a fan of the team that he was on. He was really bad in this game after he was the reason the Rockets won game number 2. But that was a rough one for Jalen Green. It was rough for Şengün. He was 1 for 6, Şengün was, from the free throw line. And all those points mattered in this one, and the Warriors ultimately win by a final score of 104-93. Okay, back out to the phone lines we go. 888-957-9570. It's Evan Giddings and Mark Randy with you on Warriors Wrap Up. Waiting patiently is Junior out in Pacifica. Junior, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap Up. How you doing, Junior?
Well, I'm doing great after that game. That was so much fun. And so a stipulation and a shout-out. So in law, a stipulation is when everyone in the court agrees on something and no one argues it. And I think we can stipulate that anybody who calls Steve Kerr an idiot, including part-time former owners who no one's ever heard of until they call Steve Kerr an idiot, is an idiot. Anyone can disagree with the decision here or there, but man, that categorical description, you just need to watch a game like tonight and educate yourself. And then let me add a shout out to the medical staff and the Warriors culture, even including like us callers and you guys on the air. No one questions, and now we find out that that Butler was still in a lot of pain. But no one questions when the medical staff just overrules everyone and says leave him out. We have an awareness of how serious it is sometimes when the player is injured. And we all know that if you go out into anything, a basketball game, a run, the gym hobbled, you're more likely to hurt something else, right? Trying to correct for it. So I was just impressed by the team and the staff and everybody, and Jimmy Butler. No complaints, no angry tweets from him, right? Just swallowing hard and saying, okay, we got to play this one without him. And then winning it is the icing on the cake. But I really like that they're looking out for the player first, and the team, of course, is going to benefit the rest of the playoffs from that call.
Yeah, good call, Junior, and appreciate you chiming in as always. Always love hearing from you on Warriors Wrap Up. Mentioned angry tweets by Jimmy Butler. No angry tweets, but he did put out an Instagram post, did he not?
Yeah, he did.
There's a running joke, and I'm sure, if you guys are listening to Warriors Wrap Up,
it's not a joke.
You've heard this by now. Jimmy likes to call Steph Batman, and he's Robin to Steph's Batman, and Robin was out today, so you have it in front of you. What did he post on Instagram?
Well, this is how you know Jimmy is a prescient person, because clearly he had, and I'll just show it for our YouTube and Twitch audience. For those who don't have or listening on the radio, just go check out his Instagram right now. He posted a picture of essentially the bat signal, but instead of the Batman signal, it's the Steph Curry 30 logo. So
the Curry brand logo.
Yeah, the Curry brand logo. And the caption is, "Thanks Batman and team, excluding Buddy." So even in Buddy Hield's finest game, Jimmy Phil still finds a way to take a shot at his. That relationship is probably the best thing going in the NBA right now.
Well, and you heard what Buddy Hield said post-game. Buddy Hield said post-game, quote, "I knew Robin was out tonight, so I had to step up, had to be Alfred tonight." So Jimmy Butler is Robin, Steph is Batman, and Buddy Hield apparently is Alfred.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think that Buddy is very aware of what. I don't need to get into comic lore. If anything, Steve Kerr was Alfred tonight. He is the overseer of this group, and I thought that the caller brought it up, and I wouldn't go as far as to say we're calling people idiots here. That's not what we do on Warriors Wrap Up. Everyone's opinion is appreciated, and conversation is open to the masses. But I think you do have to, if you're throwing in, Buddy Hield, GP2, I know he didn't play a minute, I know he didn't score a basket, but Steve Kerr seemed to push all the right buttons at the right time. And again, we talked about the adjustments he made down the stretch, rolling with Gary Payton II, and that's a move that you're going small. In fact, there was a spot, I think in the third quarter, when Udoka actually went with double bigs, and Steve Kerr didn't respond by bringing in Kevon Looney or going back to Draymond. He stuck with Quentin Post, and Post was able to fight for some much-needed rebounds. So I thought Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit in this game. He stuck with the process, which clearly they had developed and utilized at perfection without Jimmy Butler. Took a lot of players stepping up, but their head coach put trust in them, and they responded.
Yeah, I thought Steve Kerr was good. And you mentioned the double big lineup for the Rockets. They even at times throughout the series and tonight go to a triple big lineup where they also throw out Jabari Smith Jr., who's 6'10", and he's playing the 3 essentially, then Şengün at the 4 and Steven Adams at the 5. And the Warriors are just like, all right, okay, do what you want. We're going to stick with our small ball or Quentin Post at the 5, Draymond at the 4, and we're going to run from there. And I thought one of the other adjustments that Steve Kerr made, and maybe this is more of an obvious one, and it probably is, they changed Stephen Curry's rotation pattern, which generally Steph doesn't like. He likes just one bigger rest per half. He likes like a 6-minute break essentially per half. One, in like the final couple of minutes of the first quarter, and then the first 4 minutes of the second quarter, and then the same thing at the tail end of the third and the beginning of the fourth. Steve didn't go that route because he knew he had to play him more, and he was more selective when Steph rested and got him in for a possession at the end of the first quarter, at the end of the second quarter, when he normally isn't in the game, and it paid off for the Warriors in this one. So,
well, he just opened up his rotation. I mean, it wasn't like he kind of changed the breaks. He just gave him less time on the bench.
Yeah.
By the way, at the end of the half, because he also brought him back at the end of the half, did you see what the Rockets, this is another nod to Steph, but did you see what the Rockets did with 8 seconds left in the half?
Well, the Warriors essentially used Steph as just a decoy and put him on one half of the court, right?
Yes, and it worked because the Rockets double-teamed him 75 feet from the basket. Now, they still didn't get a shot off, and they still didn't score, but it's like that's how afraid they are of him just coming back into the game. Steve Kerr deployed him, I don't know, it probably is a decoy, but if you're not going to double him in the backcourt, then he's going to get a chance for a half-court shot, and that's something you can't have.
And then you have 4-on-3 in your own half of the floor.
I was like, this is the ultimate center. By the way, I think it was Amin Thompson and whoever was on the ball. It might have been Easton. So, like, two of your best defenders are guarding Steph 75 feet from the basket.
That is how much fear that Steph still puts in opponents. 888-957-9570. Warriors knock off the Rockets 104-93. In Game 3, they take a 2-1 series lead, and they do it today without Jimmy Butler. I saw a question a little bit ago on the YouTube chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union. This one from Arnell asking if Jimmy is good to go for Game 4. Arnell, we do not know just yet. I would guess he's going to be questionable leading up to game time, but there was a report from Anthony Slater right as the game ended tonight that there does seem to be some confidence. Quote, there's a belief he will be back for Game 4 on Monday night. That is the update from Jimmy Butler, or from Anthony Slater on Jimmy Butler. We will see how that all plays out, but it does seem like there is some optimism there. Back out to the phones we go, 888-957-9570. Up next is Filmo Mike. What's up, Filmo? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. It's Grandy and Evan with you. How you doing, Filmo?
I'm doing great, man. I was watching the game. I was on radio on the other radio station. I pulled up to the Millennium Tour. This night has been crazy. Shout out to Bow Wow and Plies and all them, Trey Songz. Anyway, and B2K. But listen, I kind of respect, in a weird way, Dylan Brooks, I kind of respect him. Because I give him this. He sucks as a player. He got a lot of Draymond in him, but he played good D, hard D. He not no punk, and he do hit clutch shots. He'll be 0 for 9 and hit a clutch shot just like Draymond in the fourth quarter, so I give him that. But look, two things are moments that stood out to me. Great. To me, this was one of the best team wins because everybody played a role. Buddy Hield, Kuminga, Post, Pajinski, Moses Moody. Everybody, of course, Steph goes Steph, right? So everybody played their role. But two things that caught me. I don't know what broadcast you guys are watching, but I was watching the ABC one because it just came up quicker on my phone. I usually stick to Bob. But listen, Draymond and Steph was on the bench, right? And they literally, wiped their heads at the same time. I don't know if y'all seen that. It was towards the end of the game. That's one thing. And another clutch moment to me, if I was watching the ABC broadcast, Steph told GP2, give me the ball. And he said again, bro, give me the ball. He took the ball. He went down the court. He did the thing where he was acting like he was going to go to the hole. Then he did the back thing that Andrew Wiggins do behind the back, and he pulled up at a 17-foot jumper that was so sweet. It was like Jesus Shuttlesworth on He Got Game. So man, if y'all seen them two moments, y'all can comment on it. But great game, and I could tell that the Warrior fans is happy. And I love the Chase Center crowd because they wasn't acting scary tonight. They brought the energy. I love it.
Yeah. Love it, Filmo. I did not see Steph and Draymond wiping the towel off at the same time on the bench, but that bucket that Filmo's talking about, that Steph mid-range jumper, saw that one. That was dirty. The one that he hit at near the very end of the game after the 9-0 run, or the 9 straight points scored by GP2 over Jalen Green, caught the ball top of the key 3-point line, didn't even take a dribble, was not facing the hoop, his feet were not in a good spot. You teach someone to shoot a basketball, don't look at what Steph just did there because his feet are not set. He has to elevate and then rotate his body in midair and then shoot it all in one motion, and it was so pure. He doesn't do the full turn away, but he starts running down the court and keeps his head cocked around looking at the ball as it goes through the rim. He knew that it was good. Some of the shots that Steph hits and the shots that he makes look normal are just out of this world. But yeah, Filmo's right. There's countless of those moments in this game, and he identified one of them. The other 3 on Jalen Green was another one of them, and the dude is just unreal.
Yeah, I think he caught Brooks with one in the second half. Might have been in the fourth quarter. He went I think he was like 7 of 12 in the second half and did a lot of his damage in the third. That is his quarter. But like he just hit shots and you're sitting there like, this mother, like.
Well, be careful.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to come up short because I'm sitting like this guy is, and he finds a way to sort of desensitize you to some of the shots that he hits, which are ridiculous. But like just go pull up his shot chart, like the plots all over, because none of the green circles are at the 3-point line. Like they're all 5 feet or beyond. And someone sent me this on social media. It was, oh God, well, my mentions are flooded now. But there was a picture of the most closely defended shooters, I think, so far in the playoffs. But it has a range of length. And there's like a bunch of faces of names around 25 feet. There's like a few more faces and names around 28 feet. And then like beyond there's just one face, and it's Steph Curry. He is the most closely defended player, the farthest away from the basket in the league, and it's quite clear as to why. Like, no one would be surprised by that because his range is infinite, and his efficiency seems to be at about the same from 25 to 30 to 35. Sometimes it feels like the half court. Yeah. And that's why he gets the respect that he does. That's why he opens up the lanes that he does. But again, I do want to highlight the fact that I felt like, I mean, Steph was 5 from 13 from deep. He wasn't great from three-point range, though he hit a couple of ridiculous ones. Yeah. Where he was so good, I was talking about this with Devone this morning. If he was willing, and I thought he was in game one, I don't think it was as much in game two. If he's willing to take the punishment by going into the paint, it's more taxing. It's harder to get past your man and get to the lane, but it's open, it's available for him. And I thought that he did a great job of being willing on a night where he played 41 minutes to exhaust himself by driving to the lane, finishing off glass, floaters with the right hand over Adams and the bigs of Şengün and all the rest. I thought he played a perfectly selfish game tonight because that's what the Warriors needed for him in order to win.
Yeah, they desperately needed him to be selfish. You said it exactly right. He had 5 shot attempts 18 minutes into this basketball game, only made one of them. Warriors had scored 22 points. They were down 35-22 at the 6-minute mark of the second quarter. Steph only had 2 points. Unacceptable in a game without Jimmy Butler. Unacceptable. Like, if you're going to go down without Jimmy, you're going to go down with Steph putting the ball up 20 times. Like, and maybe he goes 6 for 20 because he just doesn't have a good game. Or you tip your cap to Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks and Tari Easton, and you say, all right, you got us. We were down Jimmy, and I didn't have my best stuff. But you can't go down with your, ace of spades not, showing off. Like, you have to let him at least try. And a lot of it is on Steph to just say, you know what, to hell with this. I'm going to be aggressive, and I'm going to get my shots off. And once he flipped that switch, once he turned on his aggressiveness, he could not be stopped. And this one, not quite over, but it took a major step in that direction once he started getting going. 888-957-9570. Let's keep it going on the phone lines, and we got more time for all your calls if you want to keep weighing in. Up next is Ray in San Rafael. Ray, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. What a great game. Loved it. I just wanted to say Dylan Brooks is their Draymond Green. He just is. He's got that, what do you call it? He's got that little tenacity that he just gets in everybody's faces. And I'm telling you, if we can play and get inside his head and get him fouled out like we did tonight, he had 3 fouls right away, and he was a no-show. And another thing I would like to say is as far as Steph, for the long haul, I think what we need to do is we need to get him in after the team has been out on the court for, about 6 or 7 minutes. Because when they've been hustling out there, we get our other guys out there to begin with, and then you pull him in there, he can just slice them up once they've been. But at the beginning of the game, he always gets into problems, and he turns the ball over all the time at the beginning of the game. So I don't know your thoughts.
Appreciate the call, Ray. Is Ray talking about maybe not starting Steph?
I I would hope not. But he made an astute point, I think, about Brooks, and this is actually where my mind goes. He's not as good overall, of a player as Draymond. Draymond's more impactful on the defensive end. Brooks, obviously, a better shooter. But the point stands that you can't win with that player being your best player. And tonight, I thought Dillon Brooks was their best player. You do have to give him some credit. He hit some big threes. I think he had 10 points in the fourth quarter. And the reason why he didn't have more was because he was an idiot and he was in foul trouble. But I think that Brooks is someone that, the mentality that he had tonight of going into the Lions' den essentially and knowing that everybody was going to boo him from literally the moment that they introduced him, I believe.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so he knew that was going to happen. He relishes being the villain. That's the mindset that the Rockets needed Jalen Green to have or Alperen Şengün to have, which they may have in Game 4. I just don't think that they were ready for that kind of environment in their first road playoff game. But you do have to credit Brooks. And from that standpoint, I do think the caller's correct. That's why he is their Draymond.
Yeah, I mean, Dillon Brooks is a player that he's on not your team. You hate him. He's on your team, and you enjoy him. But you are right. If he is your best player, you're probably not going to win much. And if he is your best player and he gets in foul trouble and he doesn't even play 30 minutes, you're definitely not going to win a lot. But yeah, I mean, I thought Dillon Brooks, when he was on the floor, was really darn good in this basketball game. I think what Ray was getting at maybe was Steph is potentially at his best when you've got some other dudes that have been out there playing for a while and are running around and maybe they get a little winded. I don't know, Ray, if that means you don't start Steph. I don't know if that's what you're going for because, of course, they're going to start Steph. But I do think Ray brings up something that maybe is an underrated aspect of Steph's game, and it is the fact that at 37 years old, he is still... It almost doesn't matter who he's on the floor with. He's still the most well-conditioned dude out there, and he will run for miles just to get an open look. I mean, if you ever get bored watching a basketball game, this could be a game on a Tuesday in February, and the Warriors are hosting, the New Orleans Pelicans, right? And it's just like another whatever. It's one of 82, and maybe not everybody shows up for the game. You just put your eyes on Steph and watch him for an offensive possession and what he has to do and what he puts his body through to just get the ball with an ounce of space to get a shot off. It is absolutely amazing. So Ray is onto something, I think, and I think it's more so just a compliment to Steph's conditioning because not only does he have to be this amazing shooter with a great ability to separate on the step back and the twitchiness that he has, but it also takes an insane amount of conditioning and the work that he puts in to get his body to that spot. I don't think maybe any of us have ever really, really recognized that. And I think Steph's conditioning is one of his best attributes. And at age 37, I think it's more important than it's ever been.
Yeah, of course. And that's why he's probably still working out right now. Actually, I think Slater was talking about after Game 2 how Steph didn't get to the podium. Now, granted, it was later local time because the game tipped off at 8:30 or something, or probably 8:45. But Steph didn't get to the podium to speak postgame until 12:30 a.m. And that's because he's probably conditioning or doing postgame workouts after he's already run 5 miles in a game. So, no, it is amazing. And Steph is someone that, look, you do have to give credit to players at their older age that have been able to stay in the kind of shape that they have. LeBron James is probably the, poster boy for that.
He was amazing last night. Whew.
He was, yeah. And they still lost, but he almost had 40 at age 40. It's ridiculous. But no player has been able to perform at this kind of level as a guard at the age that Steph has. There's guards that have played to their like John Stockton obviously played deep in his career, I think 20 seasons.
Chris Paul's doing it right now.
Yeah, but not to that extent. I think Stockton was still almost an all-star that late in his career. Steve Nash was still really productive into his late 30s. But no one is asked to do what Steph is at his age as far as handling the workload offensively, having to deal with the kind of coverages that he does as the number one offensive player on his team. So he is unique in that aspect, and probably is one of the reasons why he's the most offensively impactful and perhaps overall impactful guard ever. You know, there's just no player that plays the way that he does. And even tonight, when he was getting double teamed, when he had it going, I'm watching it back right now with 5 minutes left on back-to-back possessions. First, he delivers a delicious dime to Gary Payton II, right over the top of two defenders. He gets doubled at midcourt, throws it to GP2, which was during the string of his 9 straight points. So he understands when and where he has to get the ball to, in addition to when it's his time to go cook.
Yeah, it was an amazing Steph game, and as a result, the Warriors win 104-93. They take a 2-1 series lead over the Rockets, and they do so tonight without Jimmy Butler. Now they get ready for Game 4 coming up on Monday. 7 o'clock is the tip time. All right, we got one more segment left with you. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will hear from Steve Kerr, and if you want to get any more thoughts in, do so now. 888-957-9570. 30 more minutes with you. It's Evan Giddings, Mark Randy with you. Warriors wrap up live from Chase Center. We're back with more next on 95.7 The Game.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out?
Welcome back. Warriors wrap up. Evan Giddings, Mark Randy with you here as the Warriors knock off the Rockets 104-93. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 back here at Chase Center on Monday. 7 o'clock is the tip time. We've got you covered with Warriors Live beginning at 6. But I have a feeling that Monday is going to be all Warriors all day. Just officially, Warriors Live will begin at 6 ahead of that game, tipping off at 7. And, of course, you can find it right here on 95.7 The Game. We've shouted out nearly everybody on the roster thus far. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in just a little bit. I'm sure he was very complimentary of just about everybody that played today. That highlight you just heard, Moses Moody's only 3 of the game. He did not have the best offensive game. 7 points, 3 for 8 from the field, 1 for 5 from downtown. The one he hit was a big one, but what we talked about earlier, the defense on Jalen Green, it was kind of Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga tag teaming that, and those two defenders on Jalen Green, that was a big reason why the Warriors won this game as well.
Yeah, again, I think everyone had a good moment, no matter how maybe a player was the worst player on the Warriors tonight, but they needed everybody to win this game, and that's Kerr emphasized that. I know we're going to hear from him in a moment, but the fact that this was a situation where everyone had to step up. For example, I think it was in the first quarter, Moses Moody gets out-rebounded for a basketball by Tari Eason. He just goes up and rips it away from him. And the next 2 possessions down, Moody had a pair of really physical finishes at the rim. One was on a cut and one was on a baseline drive after he gets it in the corner. So those were moments where, he gets punked on one play and he responds by then making an equally physical play in responding to that. And he was a -4 tonight, probably didn't have a great game, and he didn't care that he was benched. He just made the plays where he could. So, again, everyone contributed in this game, and they needed everybody. I know people will come down Kuminga's road, and he didn't play very well overall. But, again, he had moments where he contributed. I thought his biggest impact was on Jalen Green at the beginning of the second half. I thought the fact that Green started out 0 for 3, Kuminga didn't allow him to get going. Sure, Kuminga got pulled, and rightfully so, because he wasn't helping in other areas, but that's a mini contribution, and the Warriors needed that.
Yeah. Kuminga also, you mentioned defensively to begin the second half on Jalen Green. That, I think, was also maybe his best stretch offensively. He had a couple of nice takes to the hoop and finished, one with the left hand and then one, I think, on the other side with the right hand. He had a couple of nice moments there in that third quarter as well. And who knows? I mean, without Kuminga, Warriors, they might not win this basketball game. And you can say that about just about everybody that played in this game here tonight. All right, if you want to get call in, make sure you call now because we've only got 20 minutes left with you. Get on the line now, 888-957-9570. While you call, we will listen to Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, who addressed the media postgame after his team's 104-93 win over the Rockets in Game 3. The Warriors have taken a 2-1 series lead, and they'll go for a 3-1 lead on Monday in Game 4 at 7 o'clock. Here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr postgame tonight.
Win this game without Jimmy Butler, what does that tell you about kind of where you are as a team and who rose up to take that spot?
Yeah, it's a big-time win. I mean, you could see we were out of sorts early. With Jimmy out, we changed the starting lineup. We went to some combinations that we've barely played all year, and it took a while for us to find some rhythm. But I thought what kept us in the game was our defense. They got up, I guess, 13 at the most, but these days 13 doesn't feel like that big of a deficit. And I thought the key to the game was the way we closed the second quarter, to pull within 3 and get some momentum, and we felt pretty good at halftime as a result.
To follow up on that, obviously you said you tried some combinations, JK being in one of those. What do you think it is that's keeping him out of rhythm, and could you speak to the fact that Buddy...
Sorry?
What do you think it is that's keeping him from finding a rhythm out there and once he's kind of being put in that role with Jimmy Butler out? And then what do you think helped Buddy Hield to find a groove, and of course GP2 to find a groove?
Yeah, every game is different. JK could come in next game and have a monster game, and he missed 3 games. We didn't play him 3 games. That's not an easy thing to do, and I thought he came in and gave us important minutes. Buddy is he's a guy who's one of the best shooters in the league, and he's always capable of making shots. And because of the constant blitzing of Steph, it opened up the floor, and we finally figured out how to space the floor and get the ball swung in that blitz. We were much better with that in the second half than we were in the first, and Buddy got some good looks and made some big shots.
Just wondering if you could kind of give a bigger picture look at Buddy, and just, at times he kind of the butt of jokes, almost in a funny way, partly because of his personality. But I mean, you mentioned it, he's one of the most prolific three-point shooters ever. It seems like he flipped the game tonight.
Buddy flipped it. Gary Payton flipped it. Both those guys. But everybody contributed. Quentin had 12 rebounds. We had Moses come in and make a huge three in the second half. But this is what the playoffs are about. They're about injuries and they're about guys stepping up. And we had both today. With Jimmy being out, you have to be able to withstand that and win a game here and there. We've done that for many years. We've had some of our most important guys, miss multiple games in series. So this is what you have to do. You got to find a way, and our guys did that today.
Yeah, there's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr post-game addressing the media here at Chase Center after his team knocked off the Rockets 104-93. Welcome back. It's Evan Giddings, Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. One thing that's been a theme tonight so far, Evan, you and I think both feel this way, and we've had a lot of calls who have felt this way as well, calling for credit to Steve Kerr. He was talking about the different combinations. His hand was kind of forced considering the injury to Jimmy Butler, but he went to some combinations that we've rarely seen at all this year, and that is like something that Steve Kerr does not like to do. He finds something or a group of things that works, and he just rides that until the wheels fall off. And you can't really blame him. I mean, if it's working, why would you go away from it? Which is part of the reason why Kuminga had fallen out of the rotation of late. And this is not about Kuminga, just a larger point about Steve Kerr and the way that he works as a head coach. But Steve Kerr was forced, he and his coaching staff were forced to be a little more creative today. And much like GP2 answered the bell, much like Buddy Hield answered the bell, Steve Kerr and the coaching staff answered the bell. They put the right combinations on the floor, and it paid off. I mean, we saw minutes again where it was Kevon Looney and Quentin Post on the floor together. Not that those minutes necessarily won the Warriors the basketball game, but we did just see a willingness for Steve Kerr to try something new, and who knows, without that creativity, the Warriors might have lost this game.
Yeah, I mean, and it also wasn't like, again, I talked about this off the top. I don't think he pitched a perfect game. Like, that's evident by the fact that he didn't score a field goal for like 7 minutes between the first and the second period. There was a point in which, and I wrote this down, how are you going to get points with Pajemski, Draymond, Buddy, Post, and Moody? Like, how are you going to get anyone to score a basket?
You're hoping that Buddy, Moody, and Pods or Post hit shots. You think fingers crossed.
Well, yeah, but like no one's going to be able to beat anybody off the dribble. You're not going to force the Rockets to foul you because and actually in the third quarter, in fact, I think the Rockets committed like 2 fouls as a whole. And ironically, the end of the first and the end of the third are where Curry actually rested for probably the most period of time. But I mean, the fact remains, but then he went away from it. Like, he realized quickly, all right, that's not working. Either I need Steph in at the majority of these times, or I'm going to need basically,
I mean, it's
Gary
tough.
Payton II.
If you don't have Steph in the floor, it's tough no matter what.
No, but he also found a way to drop a couple plays, and to his credit, like Buddy Hield was ready tonight. Those mini stretches without Steph tonight don't work if Buddy Hield's not hitting shots, or if Moody is not able to knock down a 3 or 2, or if maybe Quentin Post just isn't as physical on the glass. Like, I think that, yes, offense was always going to be an issue, but the fact that Kerr also trusted his team to be able to defend at a level good enough. Remember, they gave up 110 points last game. They defended at a good enough level to neutralize the Rockets' 2 most impactful players when it comes to winning. That was Şengün and Green. And I thought he drew up some really nice after timeout plays, some out of bounds plays where they got the ball into Steph's hands. Yeah, and I don't think he's given a ton of credit as an in-game adjuster, but tonight I thought he had to be. Like, again, they needed everybody to win this game 1 through 15, but I think that also is on the coaching staff as well.
Yeah. I mean, the non-Steph minutes, I mean, we kind of just reverted back to pre-Jimmy Butler, and it was even worse than pre-Jimmy Butler because at least before Jimmy Butler, you had Andrew Wiggins, and you had Slow-Mo, you had Dennis Schroeder, right? Like, you had some dudes. And even then, before the Jimmy Butler trade with all of those guys, the non-Steph minutes were pretty much a nightmare and a disaster at that point, too. Now you're in a situation where you have no Jimmy Butler, you don't have Wiggins, you don't have anybody else, and you have to find a way to make those work in a postseason environment against a defense like the Houston Rockets. And there's a reason why when Steph did not play in the first half, which was about 4 minutes of basketball, the Warriors didn't score a single point, and that's part of the stretch that you were talking about, tailing the end of the first quarter and the beginning of the second quarter. No coincidence. Steph goes out, Warriors can't score. Like, sometimes it's just as simple as, all right, we're going to have to be really good when Steph plays because when he doesn't, we can't do anything offensively.
Or when he's out, you're going to have to find ways to stop the opposing team. Yep. And that's even more difficult to do because you're not taking the ball, you're not having them take the ball out of the basket. So you have to be really good in transition. You know, one thing we talked about in game one was how the Warriors won some of those hustle statistics, right? Even though they've been out rebounded, the free throw discrepancy was not that large in game one. Tonight, it was in favor of Houston, but they missed 10 free throws. Tonight, you look at the total turnovers. The Warriors were +5 or -5, however you want to look at it, in that category. They were +6 on points in the paint. They were +1 in fast break points. So they limited what the Rockets did well, and they didn't allow them to get those free points, so to speak. They forced them to execute enough in the half court, even when Curry was off the floor, to keep the game within reach. And that's why it was a win when Curry came back in and the game was barely double digits. The Rockets, if the Warriors were sloppy with the ball, or maybe they were turning the ball over more, Curry or not, the Rockets would have been up by 15 or 20 at some point in this game, but the Warriors never let it get to that point. So I think the fact that Steve Kerr emphasized possession, a lot of things, quite frankly, that Jimmy Butler helps them do, that to me is also a display of great coaching.
I mean, one of the biggest categories, you mentioned it, they were +5 in terms of they committed 5 fewer turnovers than the Rockets. 10 turnovers for the Warriors today. That is an amazing number for the Warriors. I mean, even with Jimmy Butler, they don't turn the ball over only 10 times. And what's odd is Draymond committed 5 of the 10 turnovers. He had himself a pretty rough first half. I mean, he had some really rough decisions offensively in the first half, and that was part of the reason why with 6 to go in the first half, the Warriors only had 22 points. But the Warriors as a team took care of the ball really, really well. Brendan Pajemski, 33 minutes. Was he amazing today? No. He had 10 points, 3 of 9 from the field, made only 1 of his 6 threes, and I think the 1 3 that he made was the first one that he took early in the basketball game. 0 for 5 from that point forward. Only 4 rebounds, only 2 assists. Didn't really jump off the page a lot in this one, but 33 minutes, and without Jimmy Butler, he's essentially the secondary ball handler alongside Steph. 0 turnovers for Pajemski today. Like, that is what you're talking about. Everybody had a role to play. Everybody had a positive influence in this one. And while Pajemski didn't give you 15 points that you might have been hoping for, he took care of the ball. And the way the Warriors lose this game, when they're playing so good defensively, and when through the majority of this game they couldn't score often enough, or at least anyone not named Steph couldn't score often enough, you lose this game if you commit 5 more turnovers. And Houston gets 8 runouts as a result of those turnovers. You probably lose this game. So Pajemski, something as small as just being smart with the ball in his hands is a big reason why the Warriors won too.
Yeah, I mean, he minimizes mistakes, and I don't think he played particularly well tonight. No. You know, I thought he got abused a lot on the defensive end, and maybe some of the issues are still lingering from his stomach illness. I'm not sure. But he did enough to help the Warriors win, and that was the name of the game. I mean, overall, I think that the battle plan for Golden State to beating Houston is to have Curry, or if Jimmy's available, be great, and minimize self-inflicted damage. Do not shoot yourselves in the foot, and you will probably win this series. That's why I think there's so much confidence that's been emanating from the Warriors locker room. You know, you were there when Moses Moody came on with Steiny and Guru, and he said we're the better team. I think it's because he knows that if they play their game, and to the Rockets' credit, they can turn you up, they can force turnovers. They're absolutely a team that can wreak havoc. But if the Warriors are able to take control or take care of the basketball, they're probably going to win 4 out of 7 of these games. And it looks like with this win tonight, that was obviously it was more of a must-win certainly for Houston than it was for Golden State, considering the Warriors didn't have their second-best player. Now you have an opportunity to get greedy and close out Houston at home. You felt like Game 2 could have been that game. You and I were on the same page that Houston, I think even if Butler had played, they just play with a different level of tenacity that probably goes to them. You got the win you wanted by a split, but now by basically eking out this win and stealing it in some senses, now you can put the pressure on Houston by going up 3-1, and then you can, again, manage the rest of this series, which is so important if you want to set yourself up for success against whoever's coming out of the next round between the Timberwolves and the Lakers.
Yeah, well, I want to look at the rest of the West playoffs here in just a sec, but before we do that, this win today, Evan, 104-93, means that the Rockets, in the next 4 games of this series, if it goes 4 more games, which would be 7 full, the Rockets have to win 3 out of the 4. They have to go 3-1 to win this series. And 2 of those games will be here at Chase. They have to win at Chase to win this series, and that was the case after Game 1 when the Warriors stole home court back. With the Warriors up 2-1, the Rockets win this series. They do it by either going 3-1 to close the series or winning 3 in a row. And you mentioned it might seem difficult for Houston to win 4 out of 7. Now they have to win 3 out of 4. And that seems like a pretty tall task, too.
Yeah, I mean, unless Jalen Green goes ballistic and Alperen Şengün plays the way he did in the first 2 games of this series, and those players haven't shown. I wouldn't even say over, they don't have any experience in the playoffs, but even over the regular season, like one of the reasons that I think this team didn't win, 55, or they had the potential to maybe even win 60 games with how good they are defensively, it's because they're not consistent enough on the offensive end. And I think on the Houston side of things, a lot of their, I don't know if it's weaknesses or just the question marks about them entering the playoffs were affirmed a little bit in games 1 and 3 of this series. And that's why a lot of people had the Warriors advancing. It's because they just didn't believe that Houston could string together 4 quality games out of 7. And it looks to be that way because if you're the Rockets, if you're a Rockets fan, this was the game you had to get. And the Warriors stole it from you.
Yeah, you felt like you fumbled your chance to go up 2-1 and really give yourself a puncher's chance to win this series. But the Warriors, they get it done without Jimmy Butler, 104-93. They take a 2-1 series lead, and they're going to go for a 3-1 series lead. Monday at 7 is the tip time, which means Warriors Live begins at 6 on Monday here on 95.7 The Game. And according to Anthony Slater, our Warriors insider, there is some confidence in the building that Jimmy Butler will return for Game 4. This quote from Anthony Slater on Twitter, quote, "There's a belief he will be back," he being Jimmy. "Jimmy will be back for Game 4 on Monday night with the Warriors searching for a 3-1 series lead." We shall see, of course, whatever the decision. You'll hear all the news on 95.7 The Game. Okay, final couple of minutes with you here on Warriors Wrap Up on a late Saturday night here inside of Chase Center. Let's take a look at some of the other scores from around the Western Conference specifically. First of all, 1-8 matchup. I mean, we knew it was going to go this way. Maybe not a sweep, but we knew it was going to be an OKC series win. They closed the door on the Grizzlies today. 117-115 is the final there. Not too surprising. OKC now awaits the winner of maybe the best series in the first round. And maybe not maybe. I think definitely the best series of the first round. The Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. That series, Evan, is now evened up at 2 games apiece. After the Clippers dominated Game 3 in LA, the Nuggets come back without Russell Westbrook, and they win Game 4 in LA, 101-99, in one of the more insane finishes, one of the more insane fourth quarters in a playoff game that I can remember in quite a while. That series is 2-2. So you got OKC waiting for either the Nuggets or the Clippers, and then you've got a couple of 2-1 series leads, 2-1 in favor of Minnesota over the Lakers, and 2-1 Warriors in favor of the Rockets. That Nuggets-Clippers series is absolutely amazing. Every game, I guess other than Game 3, just absolute must-see TV.
Yeah, I mean, this is what was advertised in the West, and, I think though the Warriors were expected to advance, and I believe that they will over Houston, these have been some really entertaining games. Maybe not as entertaining as a last-second tip-in slam by Aaron Gordon, or even like the 29-point comeback by OKC in Game 3. That's an exciting basketball game. But everyone expected the West to be more competitive than the East, and that's the way that it's shaken out. So I think the way that right now I see things, it does appear like whoever advances to the Final Four of the West, those are going to be the best teams. And I think the Warriors are among them. Are they among the top 2 teams or maybe more? I'm not so sure. But I believe that the majority of the best 8 teams in the NBA lie in the West. And unfortunately, 2 got to get knocked out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, 3, I guess.
And tomorrow we have Game 4 between the Lakers and the T-Wolves. How do you see that series? Lakers.
I don't think the Lakers are done. I don't know. I don't count them out just because they kind of have a Warriors-like formula, which is they have 2 players that can win you a game.
Yeah.
And though they wasted, according to Joe Spadoni, a LeBron 40-burger.
He was amazing.
Last game. Anthony Edwards was also sensational down the stretch of that game. So I don't think the Lakers are dead. What I'm hoping, and what I think Warriors fans should hope for, is a long series between both of those teams so the Warriors can have a little advantage. And I think if you're rooting for one side, I actually think you should be rooting for the Lakers because Minnesota, their game translates to the postseason. They're essentially a team that can defend, I think, at a level like Houston, but they have a closer. They have a player that can be the best player in a game and in a series, and they would scare me more than Los Angeles.
Yeah. Final minute or 2 here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We got one more call to clean up. Chardol out in Fremont. Chardol, sorry I didn't see you. Thanks for holding on. What's up, Chardol? What do you think of that Warriors win? Chardol, you there?
Come on, stick the landing.
Come on. All right, Chardol. Give us a call back Monday night. We'll be back for Warriors Wrap-Up on Monday. Give us a call on Monday.
Bar's closing.
But yeah, we got to get on that here in just a minute. But what a win for the Warriors. 104-93, the final score. The Dubs knock off the Rockets. They take a 2-1 series lead. Monday, Game 4, Evan. Let's assume Jimmy Butler's back. Warriors take a 3-1 series lead. What do you think?
I mean, you'd like to think so. I mean, actually, this is why I love the playoffs. Like, with all due respect, we don't know anything. I think many people, if they had looked at this game, and I felt shaky about it too this morning talking with Devon on Warriors This Week. It's like, should they win this game? Can they win this? Yeah, they can absolutely win this game. But in Game 4, can the Rockets win that game?
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
If Jalen Green is awesome and Şengün is dominant, yes, they can win that game. But I do think that I would give advantage Warriors because with Jimmy Butler coming back, I think he's going to be a little more fresh. I don't expect Curry to have as big of a night as he did tonight because he's generally been kind of 1 game on, 1 game off. But I also don't think now it's not a must-win for the Warriors. They feel confident. They've taken a game in Houston. They had a big game tonight, and now they have an opportunity to get greedy. So I would like to think the Warriors can win that game. I think they understand the importance of it with the urgency of that series and sort of wrapping it up quickly. But Houston is a team that does demand respect, so I'm not ruling them out either. I know I didn't really give you an answer, but my bad.
I'll go Warriors. I'll go Warriors in Game 4. Take a 3-1 series lead. Whether Jimmy plays or not, you can lock that up. All right. Last order of business, Crashing the Boards, brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. We shouted him out earlier for his work on the glass. That goes to Quentin Post. 12 boards for Quentin Post in 27 and a half minutes. A career high in rebounds for QP. 3 of them on the offensive glass, and those led to a couple of really big second chance buckets for the Warriors. The Warriors also won the second chance points battle 18-11 versus the much taller and the better rebounding team in the Houston Rockets. QP was big on the glass with those 12 boards. He gets the honor of Crashing the Boards, brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. For my partner, Evan Giddings, for our guys, Cam Williams, Chris O'Connell, and everybody else back in our studios, my name is Mark Graney signing off. Thanks so much for tuning tuning in. Thanks to all of you on the text line, on the phones, on the YouTube chat. We'll be back on Monday. Game 4, 7 o'clock tip. Warriors live at 6. And, of course, we'll be back for Warriors wrap-up late into the night right here on 95.7 The Game. For now, it's Mark Randy signing off. Have a good night. We'll talk next time right here on 95.7 The Game.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS.